All right. Hello and welcome to Mind Your Mind podcast. Here on Mind Your Mind podcast, we talk about life, mind, universe, everything, and literally nothing at all. My name is Ozan still, and I'm here with the beautiful Henna Malik, and we have a very pretty and insightful guest today. She is actually a naturopath, yoga nutritional instructor, or therapist, I would say, fitness professional, and karma master. Actually, those are a lot of titles I don't know about, and I'm gonna ask you a lot about these things. But she has also written many books, actually, including How to Master Karma, How to Prosper with Purpose, How to Master Vitality, and Yoga of Health Nutrition, which is actually quite interesting in that because we talk a lot about the mind in this podcast over the episodes, but we actually left out the body a little bit, but we forgot how correlated those things are. So please welcome Dr. Lynn. Hello and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. It's a privilege to be here. I'm very happy to be here, and thanks for the great introduction.
Yes, and you are pretty and pretty multi-talented as well.
Well, thank you. I'm going to come back and see you guys every day.
Please do. I need you, especially as also like a fitness instructor, because I need some help on those ones, definitely.
Okay.
But yeah, for everyone, Dr. Lynn, can you explain a little bit, introduce yourself? What do you do? What's your expertise?
Okay. Well, again, remember, I've been at this for 40 years. So when we get all those titles and all those things up there, this has been my passion. This has been my life's process. And I'm a naturopathic doctor, which means that we work in prevention over cure. That's how we look at the world. That our health is so important that we should be always working to prevent. Because once you've got a cure, if you have to cure, you've got illness, and you don't want to get to that place. So we use the natural sciences, which would mean your diet, exercise, sleep, light, color, aromatherapy, herbology, all of the things in your natural environment to help support and balance out your health. So a naturopath believes you are body, mind, and spirit. And all three of those need to be balanced in order to have perfect health. And that segues right into my yoga therapy, which yoga therapy, of course, is also about the body, the mind, and the soul. And you mentioned something earlier about, the mind and all of that. Yoga has a whole branch, which is called Annamaya, which I wrote a book about, which has to do with what we feed our body and how we take care of our body and how important it is. So the two, you could see, kind of marry together. And that's kind of how I have created my whole career.
Okay. And if I may ask your age, because maybe, our listeners want to know that if you're talking from experience, how old are you?
I'm 70.
Oh, God.
And I am the grandmother of 3 wonderful grandchildren. So, yes, I've been around the field a bit.
That sounds really unbelievable to us, but yes, we'll have to come to your home to check that.
Definitely. I mean, she looks younger than both of us, Hannah.
So
Definitely.
I actually had this in mind that we would run a poll after this podcast, how to guess how old she is, because it's just too difficult to guess that. You don't look a day over 40.
Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. But I will say to people that, it's a lifelong process. And so when you look at what I've done over the course of my life, I have continually exercised and paid attention to my diet, and I have walked my walk. And in all of that, I mean, I'm a cancer survivor. I've had cancer. I had to come through that. I've had many trials and tribulations in my life, and successes and failures and all of the things that everybody goes through. But the foundation of who you are and how you move through life is your health. And so to me, that's the most important thing. And it's attitude too. I have a very positive attitude, and that will keep you younger.
Yes, and that's exactly why we have you here. I mean, you have so many great things to tell us, and I'm so looking forward to asking you so many questions. Let's just begin by explaining some of the things that Ozan said, in your introduction. What exactly is a karma master?
Well, to master something, you need to read, you need to study, you need to practice, and you need to teach. And that's what I've been doing for over 30 years, specifically in the karma yoga. So that's how you become a master of anything. You have to go through those processes. And that means that I now, I've written books, I've been practicing it and teaching it. So that puts me in a place where I can, give more to people, and explain more about karma and take them into a deeper level of karma. You can't master something if you just do it for a week.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. And how do you manage to, at this age, how do you manage to keep up to a purpose in life? Because as when we are younger, we do have like so many things to do. We have careers to grow, we have kids to raise, we have our parents to take care of, and there are constant engagements and activities going on in our lives. But as we grow old and reach this age of 60 to 70, uh, our life starts to settle and it gets a little slow. How do we, manage to keep that pace alive? And how do we manage to, keep going on with a purpose in mind?
With the
Do we really
motivation.
need to identify our purpose from time to time, or is it like a natural process?
Well, as we round those corners into midlife or go through any of the different processes, there's always challenges and there's always change in every part of your life. You're different in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s and 50s and 60s. And 60 is a turning point. Most people, by the time they're 60, are on the tail end of their career. They're heading towards retirement. They're in a very different place. Their children are raised. Hopefully, they're financially solvent and they're in that different place in their life. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop. That can be a wonderful time to just open up to perhaps maybe something you've wanted to do your whole life, but you weren't able to do because you had to meet the responsibility of a family. And so finally, that is lifted. And it can be a very wonderful part of your life. So you can look at it two ways. And you can do that throughout any stage in your life. Everywhere you are in your life, you can look at it as, oh my God, the stress, I've got so much work to do, or I have nothing to do. Or you can look at the positive side. And if you look at the positive side, all of a sudden 60 is not that old.
Yes, of course, age is just a number after all. However cliche it may sound, it's true. And I actually remember something that I read while you were talking. I had read somewhere that, we should stop referring to age as age, but we should talk about it in terms of levels. So because, if I say that I'm at level 30, it sounds more badass. It sounds more, if I've achieved something, and just rather than just being an old person, it gives you too much edge over the others. And I think that's so true. We really need to start taking age as, this is the level I'm on. I've crossed so many stages in my life.
And with each one, it brings you to a higher level. You have more experience. That's what life is about, is we're here to experience. And that's really what karma means. Karma means that you're here to experience all of life. And that doesn't mean just some utopian thing. It doesn't mean that. It means that's not life. Life is very chaotic and it will never change. And life is very challenging and it will never change. It has been that way since we inhabited the earth, and it will be until we aren't here any longer, And so it's being able to realize that that is life. And then how do you navigate through that, paying attention to the most important thing, which is your health, body, mind, and soul. That's a prosperous person.
Yes, I agree. And so, Ozan, do you think that we need a little nutritional counseling from her?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask about the naturopathy, which you are giving actually consultation on. You have books about naturopathy. Can you a little bit explain what it is and what it includes? Like, is it strictly diets, or?
Mhm. Well, when we think of especially yoga, people think, oh, it must be some Ayurvedic diet or must be some special vegetarian diet but that's really not what Anamaya is about. Anamaya really is about honoring your body and understanding that we all come from different cultures. We all come from different makeups, and we all need to sometimes eat different kinds of diet, So it's really paying attention to the energy of your body and your mind, because that's what you are. We are just a ball of energy, and it's what we feed that energy that makes a difference in how in our physical and our mental outlook in the world. So it's really paying attention to supporting the health of your body, not just any strict diet.
Hmm. And how do you know like what the body actually needs?
Well, there's different ways to do that. Of course, you can always run a blood panel, which is one way. And, a doctor will do that, run a blood panel and say, let's say you've got a vitamin D deficiency, so that's one way, is to be able to look at, the blood. The other is to be able to really work with an individual and find out what's going on in their life, because oftentimes there are things that will come out that will give you indications of what's going on. They're not sleeping well, you know, and then you can kind of trace it back. Well, oftentimes you can trace back and, it's a terrible diet they're eating at night. Let's say you're eating, junk before you go to bed. Well, of course, your stomach's going to be digesting and you're not going to be sleeping properly. So it involves lifestyle. There's no silver bullet. I can't say, if you get up and you eat oranges every day, you're going to be healthy and here's the pill. It's really lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
It's
you become
so
more
true.
aware of your body after certain foods, and you see if your body likes it or if your actually mind health are improving or not. So it's more about this feedback mechanism that you give to yourself.
Exactly. And we all know, I mean, if you really think about it, we all know what happens when we overeat and we eat junk food. Everybody, and you get sluggish, you can feel it. And the body's saying, look, you've loaded me up with stuff, but there's no nutrients in here. So it's waste to me. I can't use it for anything. And the body says, I need vitamins and minerals, and these are what I need. If you want me to operate properly, you have to give me the right fuel. It's not about food, it's about vitamins and minerals. It's about what drives the body.
Mhm. Yes.
Actually, yeah, I mean, I remember actually this junk food and stuff. I was actually addicted to it. I was actually talking about in my book my weight loss journey. I actually lost more than 30 kilograms. I was like super overweight when I was a kid. I'm still a bit overweight, but not in that dangerous level. And actually, when I lost weight, actually I was eating healthy. So I just cut out the processed foods, junk food. So eating everything, meats, like pure meat, basically, vegetables, lots of vegetables, protein, fats. And actually, what I realized is like the whole life gets easier. As you said, I realized how my actual sleep is improving. And that also improves my daily mood. I literally feel better. My
Mhm.
emotions are more positive because I slept better, because I ate well. I wasn't busy digesting the junk food I ate overnight. I'm just happier next day. I'm happy. I'm nicer to you next day because of what I ate yesterday, which is actually quite interesting, this mechanism. And when you feel good, you actually eat better. You don't crave for this
Mhm.
junk what you're putting
Right.
into your body.
But it's a path. And so you're right. You get on that path and then you realize, wow, that wasn't serving me very well back there, that pile of junk food. What really serves us is to be vital and to have energy. Because when you're vital physically and mentally, then the doors open up to you. People are drawn to you, things are drawn to you. We're not drawn to people who are, sluggish and depressed. And we're just not drawn to why, we shy away from that. So it's important to be able to take care of this. And yes, you do. And you made a very good point there about being addicted to junk food, because we can get addicted to that. Our taste buds, our body becomes addicted to the salt and the sugar. Once we
Yeah.
move away from that, and everything lightens up. It's like there's a light. It's like something's lifted, and you eat plenty of food, but you're losing weight, managing your weight, and you're being healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like even if like simple things like just cutting sugar for a while makes so much difference. And also we add getting the right nutrients, like right macros, right balance of protein, carbon, fat. Actually, it can change a lot in your life. And I'm I know how it feels because I've experienced it. And Dr. Lynn here, I think she's living proof of it.
Yeah,
Precisely.
I also tried cutting on my sugar and sugars for some time, and I, I I think you feel physically so light that you're also able to function better in terms of thinking. You think better, you speak better, and you live better in general. So as they say, you are what you eat. The
Yes.
whole personality forms uh, on the basis of what your diet is. I think that's so important, and it's just that it's difficult to begin with, but when we start, we give ourselves a big gift, and which really helps in the long run.
Well, that's the important thing. The important thing is that, and it's not narcissistic or egotistical to love yourself and take care of yourself. That's really important, especially when you think, according to karma, this body, this is the vehicle that the soul is using to work out its karma through this earth life. We really should take pretty good care of it because it does an awful lot of things for us. It takes us a lot of great places if we let it, you know?
So coming to that, Dr. Lynn, taking forward what you just said, self-love is a big fad today. What, according to you, is self-love?
Self-love is really respect. It's respect for yourself, and it's the ability to not doubt yourself. We're constantly doubting and comparing and competing with other people. And like I like to tell my students, you're a unique individual. There is no one like you walking this path on earth. There's no one.
Mhm.
So how can you compete or compare yourself to someone else? You're unique. There's no comparison to each and every one of us because our path is totally unique. So it's important to have respect for yourself and to not allow. And I did a podcast just the other day, and we got into this discussion, which, about how, we allow other people to come in maybe with toxic energy. And they come in, and if you allow them to break through that shield, they're going to break you down. And the person who really respects themselves will not allow that to happen. But you won't do it in a mean way. Bless them and move on because they are teaching you a great lesson, how to love yourself and move away from toxic energy. So sometimes toxic people come into our lives and they come to teach us if
Yes,
we're open to learn the lesson.
right. Okay. I also have another term from the titles that Ozan described you in. There is one more interesting term, soul walking. Can you throw some light on that, please?
Okay. Well, soul walking is really sort of it comes from karma. And what it means is that according to karma, we have all reincarnated here on earth. Karma believes in reincarnation. So we came here as a soul, but the soul doesn't have any feelings or emotions or it doesn't have any human context until it reincarnates. So what the soul does is the soul picks a body, it picks a family, it picks a place in order to reincarnate and come back so that it can most effectively live out its mission. So we are here on earth as souls in a body walking our path. That's really what it means. We get that mixed up and we get so caught up in the material world when the material world is not why we're here. When we depart this world, we don't take our body, we don't take anything in the material world. What we take is what we've gained along the path, along that soul walking path. So if you've created generosity and goodness along that path, that's what you take with you to reincarnate.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That really translates to something else.
Yes, it does. I mean, it can
Yeah.
sound a little esoteric, but if you think about it, your soul is your essence. Your essence, you know, everybody knows their essence. Everybody has this unique personality energy inside of us. And yes, it's influenced by your background and everything, but we all know that essence. That's your soul. It's not something mysterious. It's just part of who we are. But we get so, the ego gets in there and pulls us so far away from it that we forget why we're here.
A little bit on the practical side of that. So we actually know a little bit about how we can take the mind and the body, but how do we take care of our soul? How do we connect with our soul more?
It begins with being able to quiet the body and the mind and awareness and listen. You know, we're so busy up here running around in the material world and the mental world and all this stuff. And it really comes to being quiet because the soul sits back. The soul doesn't dictate. The soul sits back and says, okay, it's up to you to figure it out, Mr. Ego, what's going on here. And so it's here not to push you, but hoping that you will develop that awareness that you are your essence. And then that's what you need to connect with. And can only be found when you quiet the mind.
Quiet the mind. That's the big challenge here.
That is quieting the mind and keeping the body, you know, physically healthy. Those are the two big challenges of life. If you can master those things, you can master anything.
It's like stepping out of the mind in a way that you can see actually. When you detach, you realize that there is something thinking, and it is not your essence. It is the mind thinking. And as soon as you can make that differentiation, then you can actually quiet it, right?
Exactly. And then when you start to quiet the mind down, it's like meditation. You can tap into something. There's an energy that's very quiet inside. And it's a wonderful place to tap into. And it's a place to look out in the world. But we have a thing called an ego. We all have it. And that is that's the greatest battle that we have through life, is that ego trying to usurp all the time and us trying to balance that out. So it's really kind of allowing the soul to have its voice.
Yeah,
That's
so I
beautiful.
think when we start watching our thoughts, that's when they get slower, and that's how they, tend to get lesser and lesser. So it all
Exactly.
begins by, focusing, watching your thoughts, paying attention to what you are thinking and why you're thinking it.
That's why the breath is so great, because if we slow down and you concentrate on taking a deep breath and then letting it go, the mind starts to quiet down and the body starts to let go. And then you can tap in, and there's an energy. There's something very quiet inside. And that's when you'll know you're starting to touch that perfect spot in there, that soul, the essence of who you are, because you are really a pure essence in your soul. It's the body and the mind that get us into trouble.
Sure, but how do we do that in this age of frenzy when all of us are at the verge of burnout at the moment. We have careers to build, and there's so much pressure from all around. Work is worship. That's true. But in the shadow of this, we have created so many new set of ideas, for instance, like work is the thing that gives me identity. It structures my day. It structures my lives. It gives me freedom. It gives me opportunities. We have attached so much to just working that we just want to go higher and faster. So how do we calm that thing out and maybe take a breath, take a break, a vacation which is not a workation?
Well, first of all, with that drive it's the ego, I want the title, I want the car, I want the salary, I want, and we're driven by that. Society drives us by that. And even more so, I would say, in your generation than my generation, because you have social media, you have the internet. When I started in the workplace, computers we didn't use computers. Nobody had a cell phone. So it was a very different kind of workplace. But today there's constant pressure to, and constant people competing and everybody trying to get to that magic mark somewhere. And the truth of the matter is, when we get done, it all adds up to zero because you don't take any of it with you. None of it goes with you. Do you love what you do? I get up every day and I can tell you that I work 10, sometimes 12 hours a day. I love what I do. I don't work, because I love what I do. Yeah. And there's been times when I didn't make any money loving what I'm doing. So it wasn't about the money. So it's really being able to really put priorities in order. What is important to you? Is it important to see the world? Is it important to have a family? What is important? And how do you balance it? Because life is all about a balancing act. And if you don't balance it, you're going to hit burnout.
Yeah. I think what you really mean is that the things we do, we should do out of love and not out of just, achieving something for our ego, to satisfy our ego. Great. So I would move on to how important is love and friendship in our life to, keep us young, keep us energetic. How important are social relationships? I'm not talking about social media here. I'm talking about the real relationships, the interactions we have on a day-to-day basis, good conversations. How do they make us alive?
Well, relationships are essential to life, and so is love. If we took those out, if I took all relationships out of your life and all of that stuff, there'd be nothing to disturb you. You'd be living in empty space, but you really wouldn't be interacting with life. So relationships come in and they support us. And as human beings, it is very important. We are social beings, and it's very important to our health. And there's been scientific studies over and over and over again of how important it is at every phase of your life. And that's not just young, but that means old people too, how they age so much better when there's a social environment to be in. So those relationships are really very important to us, and so is love. But we sometimes get love and lust mixed up, and love and sexuality mixed up. But love really at its fundamental is really, it's an energy that you share with someone that really doesn't have any expectations. It's just a feeling, that, I can't define love. The poets and the writers have been trying to define it since the beginning of time, and I can't put it in something that everybody's going to agree upon, but it is important to our lives.
You know it when you feel it, right?
Yeah. I mean, when if I see my granddaughter, for example, my granddaughter is 5, and when I say I light up with joy, I love that child, and it's a feeling. But if I say to you, I'm going to explain to you how I feel, you kind of know, but you can't really feel what I feel. But we all know that warmth that comes up. That's the best way I can explain it. It's a warmth, and it's something that gives you a moment of joy when you see or feel or in the presence of someone you love.
It's like it's coming from the soul, but not from the mind.
Exactly. Yep. That's love.
That's love.
Okay. So, Dr. Lynn, tell us about the common stressors that come with increasing age. What and how do we cope with them? What are these things that, some unavoidable stressors that just pop up and you can't really do anything but just manage and live with them? How do we do that?
Well, one of the things that our society is really good at is ageism. And ageism comes even earlier these days. It's like today, sometimes you hear people that are 40 and 50, oh, they're over the hill. They're just beginning. You're just beginning to figure it out at 40. I mean, you've been through all that other stuff, and you're beginning to start to figure it out at 40, what's really going on. And hopefully you're at a really good place in your career, your life, wherever you are. So I would say that ageism is probably the number one thing that people face as they get older. You are looked at differently. And especially as a woman, And I don't mean this to be sexist or anything, but women really carry the brunt of aging. They're, oftentimes they're discounted. We, in our society, and I'm talking about the American society, we don't really so much value what older people have to give. And older people have a wisdom that you won't find in technology. You won't find in anything except experience. And if you listen to an older person, they might teach you how to negotiate. They might teach you how to observe, how to not make a mistake. Those things you got to learn through life, through other people. So it's really tapping in and realizing that we have a wonderful resource there that we do discount in this society.
I agree.
Dr. Lynn, I have a question actually. It's more personal, but I'm pretty sure many listeners will actually relate to that. Like you have managed to keep this kind of lifestyle, managing your body, mind, soul for over 30 years, you mentioned. And actually, one of the things I'm struggling most about is creating this balance in a sustainable way. So it's really difficult. It feels really good when you actually get a balance and you feel good in your mind and body. But somewhere along the way, just, I don't know, work or something, you get demotivated. It just, you lose balance. How did you manage to keep it this long? How did you get yourself motivated to keep it this long?
Well, in karma, karma gives us, there are 9 characteristics that karma teaches us that are of value and worth us developing. And one of them is unfathomable faith. And that's where it begins. And I will tell you, as someone who's been down the course of life, I mean, I started out as a single mother with 2 children on welfare, putting myself through college. I struggled. I had no money. I had to work really hard to get where I was. And I had a lot of failures along the way. I sometimes tell people, if I could show you my list of failures, as opposed to my successes, you'd be surprised, because that's what happens in life. But every time, no matter what hit me or what pulled me down, inside I went and I tapped into my soul, and my soul gave me that faith. It said, Lynn, you can pick yourself up and you can keep going. So do it. And I would just pick myself up, dead matter, dust myself off and say, I'm going to figure my way out of this. And it's believing in yourself. And it comes all the way back to what we talked about earlier. It's when you doubt yourself, when you don't believe in yourself, you can't pick yourself back up. And if you think for a moment that you're never going to have down times and depressed times and stress and all of this stuff in your life, you're crazy, because that's life. As human beings, we are here to experience all of it, the good and the bad. It's what you do with them that makes a difference in how you live your life. That's karma.
It's what you do with them. I like that one.
Yeah, exactly. If I hand you a stressful situation and you go crazy and you don't eat right, and okay, well, you're gonna take your health away. But if I hand you a stressful situation, you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to get my sleep. I'm going to manage this. I'm going to keep myself calm. I will get through this because I know who I am. Then you're going to navigate through it and you're not going to lose that balance. But you are always going to have those things coming at you. That's life.
How do you keep the faith in yourself?
Experience and going through things that, when you make your way through something, be proud, pat yourself on the shoulder, be proud of yourself. Even the little things, the little accomplishments, those are the things that build character. And what you want to build, strength of character. And that's what unfathomable faith is. It's strength of character. It's that I believe that I will get through whatever I have to get through, however I have to do it, without doing any harm to anyone, because that's the first thing. You're not to harm anyone or yourself. But if I look back over my life, I got through all that stuff. And you know what? I can't remember half the things that I was stressed out about or that burnt me out in my life. You know what I mean? I can't remember half the problems I had. Can you? I mean, it's like, gee, I can't remember what problems I dealt with last week.
But that time it looks so huge that it can knock you out, right?
Exactly. And then you're like, oh, oh, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I had a problem and you don't even remember. It's gone.
It's all done and dusted.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what the experience can give you, kind of like.
Right. Yeah. And that's why maturing through life and going through these experiences, once you understand how to do it and you land on your feet, say the world blows up and you land on your feet, then you go, uh-huh, I could do it again. And you know what? You don't blow as far apart the next time. You might have a little lift, come back on your feet. I know how to do it now. Believe in yourself, because we are capable of doing far more than we allow ourselves to believe we can do.
No, that's a good point. I think we really like to underestimate ourselves and, like constantly hit ourselves. Like we are the first enemy of ourselves. We are always blocking our own way.
Mm-hmm,
And we
mm-hmm,
always do that with the self-talk. I mean, doubting yourself and so on. And yeah, this is the key, how to manage this positive self-talk and
mm-hmm.
faith in yourself. Yeah.
Well, karma says that if you want to be successful in life, whatever you determine success, self-doubt will get in your way. It will prevent you from getting there. So most people want to be successful. Well, you need to master these things. You need to master self-doubt, or you're never going to be successful because you're always going to be doubting and underestimating and undercutting yourself.
Yeah.
So
And
work to master that instead of saying, I want to be a millionaire, master self-doubt, and you'll find a way to get there.
right.
Right?
Faith in yourself
And
that
you
you
know
will
why
find
you're
a
not
way.
carrying the problems with you? It's because now you're carrying the lessons. The problems are all gone, but you remember the wisdom that you gained from it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But remember, these things, karma means work, and it means that you constantly have to be doing this. So you may today master self-doubt, and then tomorrow something might come in and you might say, oh, do I really? And then you got to work at it. And the more you work at it, then it becomes easy. That's the great thing about it. It becomes easy. You bounce back faster, and you know and you believe in who you are. And we all have that in us. It's nobody's special. There's no special people. We all have it. You just have to learn how to tap into it and use it.
I like that one. I'll take it with myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
So, actually, I wanted to talk about a bit more practical tips for the listener. Like what advices would you give to the listeners who just getting into this naturopathy, yoga, nutrition, where to start? How can they learn more about what should be the first steps?
Well, the first thing is really to, if you're really serious about working on it, is to work with someone who is qualified. You know, there's so much stuff out there on the internet that is not true, and people can, get led so far off path. So it's really important to work with someone who is a professional, knows what they're doing, and also has a good ethical and moral base to them. I say that because there's lots of people out there who will, hook you in and keep you going and keep you, the idea is to get you independent. So you want to look for someone who's looking at that process. And that's a really good way to start. If you don't have the means to be able to work with a practitioner, then it's important, start reading and start going to classes. For example, I have an online yoga class. It's $5 to come to my class. I could be charging a lot more, but I only charge $5 because I want everybody to come. I want people to come. I want people who don't even know what it's about to feel, well, okay, $5, I'll come and try it. And maybe I've given them something. So find a class that you can go to, find a group. And the most important thing is really to begin with loving yourself. You're on this journey for yourself, right? Because if you do that and you become healthy in and of yourself, body, mind, and soul, think about how much you have to give to everybody else, right? And that's why and that's really, karma says, be generous, give. You can't give if you don't have anything.
Right.
I love that. It starts with respecting, loving yourself, and believing in yourself. That's the first step, as far as I understand. Like if you skip through that and you start, I don't know, eating something, then it won't be sustainable with it.
No, it will not, because what will happen is you'll fall back into that place. And yeah, and you may have it takes work to continually come back to that place. Again, that's what karma means, is work to come back to that place of respecting yourself. But respecting yourself also means to do no harm and to respect others. So it doesn't mean I'm better than everybody else. I'm, more important than everybody else. It means I really respect myself. And because I respect myself, I respect other people. I respect their path. I respect their culture, their background, because we're all different, and that's what's really important, is to be able to have that respect for everybody and everything.
I'll take that with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a lot of things today.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because, we we live in a world that is full of prejudice and bias. It's full of it, and it's that ability. Karma is like removes that. Karma doesn't see anything. Karma just knows that we are here to work to perfect ourselves. If you work on yourself and you make yourself a better person, and you can reach out and do that for just one other person. Think if everybody on the earth could do that and then reach out and help one other person, man, we'd be in a great place. Right?
Definitely.
Yeah. We'll start a movement.
Start a movement. Starts with you, literally.
Exactly.
To whom it may concern, everyone.
Yep. There you go. That's a good one.
Cool.
Write it down, Ozan.
Right.
Yeah, it's
recorded.
It's fine.
When creative minds get together and the energy, see, there's a different kind of energy. So what karma would say is that because we're here and we've got this positive energy and it's whirling around, there may be something that'll fall into, if you're aware of it, that could lead you to wealth, that could lead you to success. But we look for, well, I want, $1 million, but maybe an idea, maybe someone says something and it sparks something, and there it is, eureka. It's being open and listening to other people too.
Exactly. And that's why actually we do this whole podcast in this method. Like I didn't speak to you before this thing at all. Like I don't know anything about what you do before. And that's like, I hear it for the first time here. And we are all open and we are fully focused in the present and listening. And we are having the insights. We are having the questions on the go. That's why we love really this whole podcast. And this is how we create ideas. Like we are coming up with things which we didn't have before, new ideas.
Exactly. Well, you're open to learning, you're open to listening to other people and learning what you can. And that's another thing that karma teaches us, that one of the reasons that things that blocks us from being successful in life is to think we know it all. Yeah. Think you've reached that pinnacle and I have nothing else to learn and you can't teach me anything. Man, that's going to slam that door on you, because I learn every single day. I learn, I'm constantly trying to learn and bring information in. And it's important to learn your whole life.
Yeah. The moment you stop learning, you start aging.
And you got it. That's it. Yeah, you become an old person, Yeah.
All right. That was wonderful, Dr. Lynn. Thank you so much for recording with us today. And any parting thoughts, Ozan?
I have a lot of insights, but it all starts with me and how much respect and love and basically faith I put in myself. And everything else, Dr. Lynn can actually teach you. And which I wanted to ask you actually, how would you like to tell our listeners how they can reach out to you, find more about what you do, like your classes and the programs, and what are you doing right now?
Okay. Well, they can go to my website, which is drlynn.com, and it's spelled out DOCTORLYNN.com.
So many links.
Everything's there. Yep, everything's there. You know, you could my classes, my books, my DVDs about me. There's a place where you can consultation if that's what you want. So everything, social media, everything can be done from the website. So if you go there, it's really easy. And if anyone who is a listener of yours and they want to be comped for a free yoga class, send me an email and say, hey, I heard you on, give your podcast, and I'll make sure that they get a free pass to a yoga class.
That sounds good. Maybe I will do one.
That'd be great. Love to have you guys.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Lynn. It was really insightful. At least for me, I really take a lot from this conversation about the mind, body, soul. This is actually the first time we touched also the physical part of it as well. So I'm excited that we also started that path with Henna. So thank you very much for all your ideas, insights today.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for having me.
we are so grateful that you could make it and leaving us so inspired. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, wishing you all a very nice day. Bye.
You too. Good night.